Hey there, welcome to the Leadership Snapshot Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah Andries. My guests are everyday leaders, and in each episode, we discuss leadership experiences, lessons, and we look behind the scenes to inspire your leadership growth so that you can make an impact. So stick around. We have a lot of people to talk to. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today my guest is Marsha Friedman, and she is the owner of MEF Consulting Group. She is a leadership and personal development coach. She does training and facilitating, and overall, she's just a really fun person to talk to. So welcome to the podcast, Marsha.
Thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate your having me on.
No problem. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
My background is, which is where I like to start, is 40 years in the corporate world. And I worked across an organization. I have a degree in accounting, and then I was an internal auditor, financial analyst, a national account manager, worked on special project teams, and ended my career working in the training and organization development field, and then got a master's in organizational leadership. So I've come to this place in my life and my work because I've had the opportunity to really dig in and be involved in every part of an organization and understand how leadership and the lack thereof, in some cases, really impacts the way an organization functions and the success of the organization.
What made you transition from accounting into leadership development? There has to be a story about that path.
Because in that field, when I started in internal audit and then moved into be a financial analyst, I really loved working with people. That's really where my passion lies. And I think when you start out, when you're young and you look at what you enjoy doing in school, I loved math. I was good at math. That's how I ended up in accounting. But as you really begin to develop as an adult and as a business person, you look at what other opportunities there are for you within an organization. And for me, it was not working vertically in the finance world. It was really going across the organization so I could have an impact where I was dealing and working with people throughout my career. And where I ended in working in training and organization development, I really found that I could have a broader impact on a larger part of the organization. Rather than being a manager where I had a few people working for me as an organization development manager, I was responsible for an entire division. I had 350 people whose work and whose lives and the way that they function together was part of what I could impact. That to me is very exciting because I'm so passionate about seeing people be able to reach their personal and professional potential. Yeah. That's what my passion is.
How did you come up with and start MEF Consulting Group?
When I was asked to take early retirement in 2013, I was finishing my master's in organizational leadership and then started looking for jobs in the area. And because I really wanted to work in organization development without a large commute north every day that would really sap my energy, I wasn't finding positions that would work for me. So I started looking at what could I do on my own and how could I share my gifts and my passion with folks individually. And it would give me the energy that I wanted and also be able to give me the opportunity to give back to other people, because that's really what it is for me. It's really giving back. It's taking all the lessons that I've learned and helping other people shortcut their success because I can help them move forward quicker.
I know for myself personally, that's why I started doing coaching and consulting, was so that I could help people skip or at least get through the crappier pieces faster, because I already been there, done that, so I can help guide them. So I love that you're doing that. What has been your favorite project that you've done since you've been in your consulting?
Oh, I had the opportunity to work with a group of coaches at a nuclear power plant.
That's cool.
It was cool. It was cool because I had never touched the nuclear power industry. So that was a lot to learn in and of itself. But then being part of a group of coaches where there were 5 of us that were coaching 45 leaders in the leadership team. So you could really have an impact across the entire organization because we were impacting so many different leaders across the company. And we also had the opportunity to go into meetings, observe the leaders, and give feedback to not only the leaders who we were assigned to, but if there was somebody else in the room that we felt that we could provide some additional feedback and support to, we were encouraged to do that as well. And it was a long-term contract, which unfortunately, because the weather changed and the company needed to take out some costs, we didn't finish the entire project, but it was so exciting to see the impact that we had as a team of coaches with a team of leaders working towards success for the organization.
That's cool. So what was the biggest leadership lesson that you had to learn?
One of the biggest leadership lessons I had to learn was how to engage others. Because in all my years having the title as manager, I had zero people reporting to me. And I was asked to lead major projects. Well, you cannot lead a project without additional people, without other resources. Being able to invite people who have the right strengths, the right skill sets onto your team is so critical in being successful. And that skill of being able to attract others to see the vision that you have and to invite them to engage with that, I use it all the time. I'm on a Chamber of Commerce here in town, and earlier in the year they asked if there was anybody who would volunteer to put together some baskets for a fundraiser. I said, sure. Then a couple months went down the road and found out that it wasn't putting baskets together, it was running the fundraiser. So I used my skills. The next meeting that we had, by the end of the meeting, I had 9 people on my committee. And my job then became what a leader needs to do. It was scheduling the meetings, it was putting the agenda together, it was making sure that we had all the different tactics that we needed to have in place. We had someone who was going to take care of the credit cards and the finances and all the different pieces and parts of the puzzle. But it came together beautifully. And at the end, people wanted to give me credit. And I said, no, it's my team. So my lesson that I had to learn was how to bring people in, how to invite them in. And the word that I like to use many times is voluntold. I don't volunteer people, but I ask them in a way so that they want to join my team because they know that I see what their strengths are and they can complement what I don't have.
Yeah, that is huge. So many people, I love that you said voluntold or invite them in by talking about their strengths. I think so many of us miss the opportunity to have other people go on journeys with us because we don't know how to invite them to be a part. What's your best piece of advice for inviting people?
Again, I think the most important part for inviting people is to recognize an opportunity for them to use their strengths. So if you can point that out to them, that here's where you can really make a difference. And you're doing this because this is coming from your heart. This is something that you see clearly, and maybe they don't really see that they have that skill. So you're elevating them. You're giving them an opportunity to really show what they can do. And if they can see that there's a win-win on both sides, it's the WIFM that we like to talk about. It's what's in it for me. So if they understand how critical their contribution is to the project, you've got them.
So Marsha, what advice would you give to a young leader who's just starting out?
The most important thing, I think, for a young leader starting out, especially if we talk about this area of engagement, which to me is so critical, is understanding how to build the relationships with the people who you're working with. Understand yourself, first of all, because if you don't understand yourself and your own preferences and your own motivations, it's really hard to also understand those of the people who work with you. Mm-hmm. So my biggest, piece of advice for young leaders is know yourself and then get to know the people who you're working with. Build those critical relationships so that as the work comes down the road, you have a strong network that you can go to build your teams.
Marsha, thank you so much for being a part of my podcast today.
You're quite welcome, Sarah. I appreciate being asked.
If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you subscribe so that way you can hear new podcasts that come out every week. Embrace your journey, and we'll talk to you next week.